I was happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and even though Terry McLaurin has officially been activated off of the PUP list, seems like he's going to start practicing, the contract is still not done. And some people are reporting that there probably will be one done soon, especially before week 1. But we got to dive into several things still concerning this Terry situation. First of all, reportedly, Terry is getting bad advice from his camp, more than likely Buddy Baker. But I've already assumed that was happening. Now we have like some credible sources saying, yeah, I believe he's getting some bad advice. We're going to dive into that. Also, an NFL exec out there said that he does not like to negotiate with the Washington Commanders general manager Adam Peters. We're going to dive into how that potentially even affects this Terry McLaurin situation as well. Also, I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all already know, but again, just in case, for those of y'all that only watch me and don't watch anybody else, I want to make sure I even double back and talk about even older things. So we have the 2025 jersey schedule we got to talk about, and also they've already started the demolition on RFK, man. We're getting things moving. We're going to dive into all of that and more. But before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting every video. Make sure y'all pull up, man. Commanders live show, the Commanders Kings, together in person for the first time ever, Crystal City Sports Pub, August 24th. Literally this time next week, we will already have started the show. Like right now, the show will basically just be beginning. Make sure you go get your tickets, and even if you can't, you can still donate the support. So even if you're not able to actually go, if you want to donate, you can do that. Link in the description of this video and every video I've done for the past few weeks. Make sure y'all go pull up, or if you want to donate, do that. And of course, we'll have another Commanders King show on Wednesday before we get all of that going. Again, that's all going down next Sunday. Without further ado, let's go dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's start with the Terry McLaurin bad advice part first, because there was Mike Jones, who's an NFL writer for The Athletic. He was on the Kevin Sheehan show, his radio show, a few days ago. This was back on August 14th. He said, quote, "I worry about the advice that McLaurin's getting from his agent. From talking to a number of people around this situation and people that like have been a part of the contract negotiations or people that are close to it, it sounds like it's too bad that he doesn't have somebody else in his ear, because it doesn't seem like he's getting a lot of wise counsel on this," unquote. So it sounds like, at the very least, whether you agree that Terry McLaurin's agent, Buddy Baker, with him being a hometown friend, I guess they both happen to be from Indianapolis, and Terry McLaurin is by far the biggest agent he has in this entire list of football players that he has under him and all of that type of stuff. So we've already talked about and assumed and brainstormed as to why I feel like Buddy Baker is doing Terry McLaurin dirty. I feel like he's trying to prioritize his own wants over what Terry McLaurin, what's best for him overall. But at the very least, even if you don't agree with none of that, even if you don't believe any of that, it sounds like from several people that are inside the situation, or at least close to it, it sounds like Buddy Baker is the one running the show here. It's not like Terry McLaurin has a team of people or anything like that. This is completely Buddy Baker driven. And so at the very least, it sounds like Terry McLaurin doesn't have multiple points of views and multiple people speaking to him about, maybe you should do it this way. Nah, maybe you should do it this way. No, this is the Buddy Baker show right now. And I've already said, if he had one of the top agents in the NFL, Terry McLaurin's probably already signed by now. But I think Buddy Baker is trying to squeeze out every single penny that he could possibly get so that he can make a name for himself and potentially increase his credibility to get more top clients like Terry McLaurin and other top players in the NFL. Again, it's Terry McLaurin, big gap. And I forgot the other player. Then it's like another big gap, and then it's Jeremy Chin, and it just keeps going down and down and down. Like DeAndre Carter's like one of his top 8 players as far as like money, average annual value on their current contract that he got them. Like as far as the money that they're making per year, DeAndre Carter's like somewhere in like the top 8 or something crazy. And so again, Terry McLaurin seems to be this poster child, this meal ticket for Buddy Baker to really make sure everybody in the NFL, hey, look, respect me. I got Terry McLaurin this ridiculous amount of money. And again, I think Terry McLaurin probably would have been signed for a certain amount, and then Buddy Baker's probably pushing them to sign for more. But either way, Disco brought up a good point. He said neither side in the Terry situation situation is going to get a lot of what they want. Both will have some pain. Accept it and get my dog in camp. Luckily, now he's starting to ramp up practice. I don't know when he'll actually start practicing for real. Maybe we have to wait until like Wednesday or something for Terry McLaurin to actually be out there practicing. But even so, it's not going to lead to him playing in that Ravens preseason game because like I've already said, it's going to be third and fourth stringers out there. You don't want to throw Terry McLaurin out there to the Wolves with people fighting for their lives. You know, they got families they're trying to feed, and they're going to go out there and do whatever it takes to try to land on somebody's team, somebody's practice squad, and that will put Terry McLaurin at risk because those guys probably don't have a lot of coof to him. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they're going to go out there and purposely try to injure somebody, but I mean, if they don't make this tackle, they don't eat. You know what I'm saying? It's a little different. It's a little different. Legacy versus life versus food versus my family don't get to eat. Them third and fourth stringers are hungry, man. I don't want to throw Terry McLaurin out there in those conditions. So Terry McLaurin's not going to get any chance to go against an opposing defense this entire offseason until week 1 against the Giants, which is September 7th. Now, he'll have around somewhere like 3 weeks to practice to get ready, but he's going to miss the Patriots. Of course, he already missed the Patriots joint practice. Then the starters are actually playing when Terry McLaurin would have played if he were already here. They're going to play against the Bengals Monday night, tomorrow night, which I will be live streaming the entire 4 quarters and everything like that. And then that's it. Those are your only 2 opportunities, especially now that the Ravens joint practice got canceled. And that's why it really sucks for us. But Mark Tyler even replied to Disco and said Buddy Baker's ego is going to end up being the one with the most pain. And I do agree. I think at the end of the day, I think both sides will come to an agreement before week 1, hopefully sooner rather than later. And I think at the end of the day, if we're going to like when the numbers come out, if we had to say who ended up winning the situation, I think Adam Peters and the Commanders will. I think Terry McLaurin's going to end up getting significantly less money than he actually wanted in comparison to how much Adam Peters was willing to pay him. But we'll see. And then you have a completely different source. Now you have Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports. He said, quote, when negotiations first opened, I think the Commanders were a little stunned by initially what Terry McLaurin and his camp were really gunning for in those negotiations. The initial number was high enough that it almost completely broke down the conversation instantaneously between the 2 parties. I think the Commanders were stunned at initially what he was asking for. To me, the inference was this was like nearly top tier 1 money. Are we talking $35 million a year? Or are we talking even beyond $35 million a year? Are we talking about creeping up to the $40 million? What was actually the initial ask? And that's what he's asking. But apparently from what he's hearing, from whatever he's hearing from the Commanders or whatever, it sounds like Terry McLaurin's first ask was so insane that the Commanders are like, nah, what are we even doing here? Like, what are we even talking about? And I completely agree with DC Sports Dre. He says, so Adam Schefter was right with his guess that it was significantly more than DK. That was the report that came from Adam Schefter from the Adam Peters side like weeks ago. Starting high is fine in negotiations, but you have to wonder if Terry's camp was completely out of touch about his true market value. I completely agree, man. You can't go out there and be like, I want 1 billion, bajillion, trillion. Like, you can't do that, man. You have to at least have some sort of a gauge. I know with contract negotiations, you try to aim a little high. You ask for more than what you're actually willing to take. That's the part of negotiations. That's negotiation one-on-one. But when your actual market value says somewhere around 30 million, and then Cortland Sutton, a lot of people say you should be getting his deal at around 23 million, maybe more than that, maybe somewhere 25, maybe even 28. And then you're apparently asking for maybe 35 at the lowest, maybe even 40. Terry, you tripping, man. I'm telling you, Buddy Baker is feeding you the wrong information because I don't think Terry McLaurin would do that himself. I think that's this Buddy Baker situation. You could tell Terry McLaurin wants to be back on the field. You could tell he wants to be a part of this team. Linnell Willingham went on Rio Robinson's live stream. Make sure y'all go check that out. It was a great interview, the whole thing, even outside of this bombshell that he dropped. But he dropped the bombshell about Terry's been practicing with Jaden Daniels in the bubble in private for nobody to see this entire time. And then he's been showing up to a lot of the practices, just standing on the sideline, signing things. Then he went to the scrimmage, and that was the first time he's ever actually stepped foot onto the practice field to watch a practice. So, like, you could just tell he's itching. He wants to be here. And I feel like it's completely on Buddy Baker that's telling him, no. I know you're cool with that, but we're going to fight for more. Just hold still, you know? I'm a doctor, trust me, you know, type of thing. I'm not liking this Buddy Baker influence, man. And even moving on from that, Charles Robinson also said, quote, I think people are going to find out a lot about Adam Peters right now. I don't like negotiating with him. He has an edge to him that people don't understand, and they're going to see that in this negotiation. And then, so that came from an actual NFL executive. We're going to dive into that very soon because that's going to be the next part that we talk about. But then there also came a quote from this Charles Robinson talking through Yahoo Sports. Quote, "No other team wants to pay Terry McLaurin 30+ million. That is a bombshell in itself if it's true, because that further confirms that Adam Peters is right. There's no way that you're sitting here asking for 30 million or more per year and you don't even have a market like that. Remember, like a week ago, Mike Garafolo updated everybody and said, I mean, yeah, teams have called, but it's not like the line is booming or nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's not like teams are lining up. It may have been like a handful, maybe only like a couple. Jeremy Fowler only confirmed that, yes, there is one team. He wasn't allowed to put that team out there who's actually called the Commanders about potentially trading for Terry McLaurin amid the trade request and all of that type of stuff. I mean, but Jeremy Fowler was only able to confirm there's one team. Mike Garafolo said it's probably less than 5. So that was already the report over a week ago. Now you're hearing that officially, because from that report, I was like, okay, so it sounds like Terry McLaurin doesn't have that big of a market, and that means that he just can't be out here asking the Commanders for a bunch of money, because it's not like he can go somewhere else and get it. It's not like he can demand 35 million from the Commanders, and the Commanders say no. And he's like, well, okay, well, this team over here is willing to. Now we have an official report again. I really want to emphasize this, and I should have prefaced this entire video with this. I should have said this before the intro. I say it every time I think of it in videos like these. With all of these sources, take them all with a grain of salt. You decide which source to believe. I'm not here to tell you who's right, who's wrong, who's trustworthy, who's credible, or nothing like that. We're just diving into what the quotes say and whether it makes sense or not, especially from the Commander's point of view. And we're always, you know me, man, I'm trying to look from every different side. I'm willing to play devil's advocate. I'm doing everything to kind of brainstorm what are all of the possibilities in this situation, what makes the most sense, which doesn't, why not, all of that type of stuff. So again, now you have this report that, again, please take it with a grain of salt, that no team is willing to pay Terry McLaurin 30+ million. And I actually kind of believe that one. I don't think any team, and it's the age thing. Now I understand the other side of the age thing is that he's only going into his 7th season. He barely even played a lot at Ohio State, so he doesn't have the same amount of tread on the tires. He doesn't have the same amount of mileage on his body that a typical 30-year-old wide receiver has going into a season. I understand that, but at the end of the day, he's still 30. I don't think teams are willing to pay a 30-year-old wide receiver $30 million per year. Just to let you know, Terry McLaurin, I believe, would be the first in the entire NFL, in NFL history, to be a 30-year-old wide receiver making $30 million a year, or like a certain number. It's like 35 or something. There is some like threshold that Terry McLaurin's trying to breach, and Adam Peters doesn't want to be the first GM to do that, because then all of the other GMs and owners around the NFL are going to look at him crazy like, why did you open the floodgates? Now there's going to be this slippery slope of every wide receiver of a certain age trying to get a certain amount of money because you allowed Terry to get this much. So there's probably even outside pressure, exterior pressure on Adam Peters to not break right now. You know, the NFL colludes all of the time, so that's definitely probably playing a role in this as well. And also, from that nearly 4-minute long video of Charles Robinson talking on Yahoo Sports, now let's dive into the Adam Peters part of this. Again, you had an NFL executive that told Charles Robinson, the same guy that just gave us that report about Terry McLaurin not having the $30 million offer from any team and all of that type of stuff. An NFL executive told him, quote, I think people are about to learn about Adam Peters. He has an edge that people don't understand, and he's not going to budge. And that executive, whoever it is, we're talking about maybe a GM on another team or something like that, some high-ranking decision maker for some NFL team that's currently right now. This is not just some retired guy. This is not some podcaster. This is somebody that's still currently working in the NFL at a high position, like the equivalent of an Adam Peters for another team. They said, I don't like to negotiate with Adam Peters. And then shouts out to Charles Robinson, though, because then he went and quote tweeted this, because a lot of people ran with this, and a lot of people were thinking, okay, does that mean Adam Peters is overly stubborn? Does that mean he's a very difficult person? Does that mean that he just sucks as a general manager, period? Well, Charles Robinson then went and quote tweeted the tweet that JPA put out about this, you know, because it started to go viral, it started to catch waves, and people started to assume the worst of Adam Peters. He said, I'd like to add, the executive meant this in a good way. They were illustrating that Peters is not a soft negotiator. I think that came through if you heard me say it on the podcast, but of course, a lot of people just see this headline of general manager on another team doesn't like to negotiate with Adam Peters, and you're just automatically going to jump to conclusions and assume the worst. The Commanders fans taking this as some kind of insult or missing the mark. It's the exact opposite, in fact. And then shouts out to Bleeding Burgundy and Gold. He said, bro made AP sound like John Gotti at the negotiation table. And then Linnell Willingham quote tweeted it and said, have heard the same thing from other credible folks around the NFL. He doesn't care who he's negotiating with. It's about winning and team philosophy. And that's what we've always wanted. I see some Commanders fans out there upset of how Terry McLaurin is being treated right now. But we literally have been praying for a general manager that used logic, that used common sense, and that considered the future, not just right now, not a small victory in the cost of long-term anguish. No, a guy that's thinking about how do we win now? How do we win long-term in the future? How do we win overall? What do I need to do? Logic, math, stats, all of that. Like, we've been waiting for that. Like, we finally got it, and people are just upset about it. It's just almost like a lot of people, you just can't please. Certain people, you just, no matter what, they're going to be unhappy. But I'm happy to hear that our general manager has that type of reputation around the NFL. I love hearing that. Like, you're not about to come over here and play him. Howie Roseman has tried it a few times. Y'all have seen those draft coverages where he's called Adam Peters and tried to finesse him sometimes. And Adam Peters is like, no, like, you think I'm stupid? You think just because this is my first general manager job, I'm going to go for that? I know how all of this stuff works. You know what I'm saying? So people have tried Adam Peters, and he shut it down every time, man. I love the fact that we have a general manager that at the very least you're going to respect him. Even if you don't like him, you respect him. And that's way more important, especially for a general manager. Now, shouts out to Resh Manuel. He said reports of Commanders general manager Adam Peters being a tough negotiator should not surprise anyone. He got a start in the Patriots organization, known for letting players go a year too early than a year too late, and that worked very well for them. Then spent time under John Elway, an equally tough and unemotional negotiator. That makes a lot of sense. Shouts out to Resh Manuel for those comparisons. Also, DC Sports Dre said, by the way, I love that comment from other GMs that Adam Peters is a pain in the A word to negotiate with. They know Washington isn't a mark anymore. They used to be when Dan Snyder owned the team and we had all of these other guys doing negotiations. They knew they could take advantage of us. That's why, I mean, you see the proof is in the pudding. You didn't even need this report to come out and tell you this, because Adam Peters somehow got highly unexpected value for both Jahan Dotson, Sam Howell, anybody that we traded away. Somehow he got more value than anybody ever expected. Like, how did we get a third round pick for Jahan Dotson? Please tell me. And I forgot the exact value we got from Sam Howell, because it was a bunch of like pick swaps and things like that. It ended up being like a value that made zero sense. And you're watching Jahan, you saw Sam Howell in a preseason game. What was that, like yesterday or the day before that? He didn't look worth anywhere near the draft capital that we got in return. And then Jahan Dotson, you saw him last year with the Eagles, man. Complete non-factor. The fact that we could get anything for those guys, let alone, again, a third round pick. Come on, man. It's Red Zone in the Lab said, tell Howie stop hating. Basically saying that was him that put this report out there. Like, man, that boy Adam Peters sucks, man. I can't take advantage of the guy. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Red Zone in the Lab, I'm with you. I think that probably did come from Howie Roseman. You know, I mean, but it's, again, out of respect. Like, at the very least, he's respected. And then also moving on to the next topic, Jeremy Fowler went on ESPN 2 days ago on August 15th and said, quote, Washington is down here. Terry McLaurin is pretty high up here. I'm told the player is dug in and remains frustrated. They, as in Washington, feel like when push comes to shove closer to week 1, they can reach some sort of compromise, unquote. So the Commanders are basically playing the long game. They're chilling. They're waiting. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Adam Peters and the Commanders are personifying having your arms crossed and just looking at Terry like, okay, so what's the move? You're under contract. You got to show up. You're not going to miss game times. Like I keep saying in every video, Terry McLaurin, go ahead and dare to miss this season. Go ahead. Now you're going to be 31 years old trying to get big money. And you think you're going to be more likely to get the money that time after missing the season and you're 1 year older than what you are able to get right now? At the end of the day, he's going to have to show up and work. You're under contract. I understand you're trying to hold out and you're doing whatever you got to do to try to fight for as much money in your next contract, but you are currently under contract, and that's why when he misses practices and things like that, or if he chooses to miss games, which he will not, that's why he gets fined. because he's technically breaching his contract. So we'll see how it goes. Again, the Commanders are definitely willing to play the long game, and I highly doubt Terry McLaurin is. And this again came out a couple of days ago. Now you see Terry McLaurin activated off the PUP list and beginning to get ready to practice, even though a deal hasn't been done. So it seems like Terry McLaurin's starting to give in, and I know Buddy Baker's somewhere around throwing furniture. Now moving on to the jersey schedule updates, man. And again, I apologize that I'm late. Even though this was only like 4 days ago, I feel like I'm 2 weeks late. I mean, as many videos I've done, I'm doing like 2 videos a day basically. It feels like this was at least over a week ago. But let's dive into the jerseys, man. So as you can see, I'm just going to let the pictures kind of scroll through. So you're going to see when we wear the burgundy jerseys. You're going to see where we wear the monumental white one. First of all, how about the fact that we have nicknames for every jersey? Legacy burgundy, monument white. Then we have the Super Bowl era ones that we're finally bringing back for the first time since we become the Commanders. And then you have battle black, and I'm sad because y'all know I love the black uniforms. I feel like there are things that we need to tweak, especially to separate it from the Steelers uniform just a little bit more. But I feel like I've been waiting for a black uniform for my favorite NFL team since I was so little. That's one of the very few things I'm jealous of the Falcons for. They have an all black uniform that looks really nice. So I'm sick to my stomach that we're only going to wear it once this season. And it seems like it's slowly being phased out to the point that by the time we get our new RFK Stadium in DC, we may not be wearing the black uniforms at all anymore, which does make me sad because I still prefer the black uniforms over the Super Bowl era. I don't really care about the Super Bowl. I understand why a lot of y'all have nostalgia attached to that, but just looking at it from the outside looking in, if you even ask a fan of a non-Commanders fan, just completely unbiased, how do you feel about all of the different jerseys? They're quite likely to even pick the black jersey. I think they actually do look better, but shouts out to the Super Bowl era. I understand why a lot of y'all are really excited about those and attached to them. I mean, they cool, like they plain, but either way, I'm not here to talk about that. Let's dive into the schedule. So we're less than a month away from the Washington Commanders taking the field against the New York Giants. And we now know what uniforms they will be wearing, not just for week 1, but for the entire 2025 season. The Commanders will be decked out in their monumental white jerseys, monument white jersey for their season opener against the Giants week 1, which again is Sunday, September 7th. I will be live streaming that, of course. Come on now. They will wear their jersey a total of 8 times this year as well. More than any other jerseys that they'll be wearing this year, including their primetime matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs, as well as their game against the Miami Dolphins in Spain. But who knows? Maybe in that matchup against the Chiefs, since everybody and their mama gonna be watching that game, or maybe the game against the Dolphins in Spain, maybe that's the game the one game out of the year that we may go all white, where we even wear the white pants with it. I'm excited to see what happens there. And then you have the legacy burgundy jerseys that will be featured 5 times, starting with their week 2 Thursday night football matchup with the Green Bay Packers, and then the following week against the Las Vegas Raiders at Northwest Stadium. Washington's signature gold pants, which were added to the uniform combinations last season as a nod to the franchise's history, will also return for the 2025 season. And then, of course, Washington's battle black jerseys will be worn one time this season during their primetime game against Chicago. And I love how petty that was. Shouts out to the Commanders for being so petty, man. We saved the all-black unis just for the Bears. We hit them with that devastating Hail Mary that sent them into a spiral of losing literally until the very final week of the season. Remember, they were like a hot team. We went into that game underdogs because the Bears were winning. Like, they looked like a really good team. We got them with that Hail Mary. Remember, they didn't win a single game after that Hail Mary. And remember, that was like, what, week 6 or something, 7, something like that. They didn't win another game until the very final week of the season. And so now we about to bring that PTSD right back to them. But as a person that, again, really likes the black jerseys, even though I do feel like we need some minor tweaks and changes to make it better, again, I'm just sad that we're only wearing them once this year. So, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully they make it to RFK, but I highly doubt it, not going to lie with you. And then the Washington Commanders alternate uniforms, technically the Super Bowl era uniforms that we have not seen them actually wear in person yet for a game. Can't wait for those too, though. Those will be worn 3 times this season, all of which are primetime or standalone games. So the Commanders want to make sure, people definitely see these. We don't wear these in a non-prime time standalone game. Uniforms will be worn the first time against the Seattle Seahawks, in which the team will officially retire Hall of Fame wide receiver Ark Monk's 81 jersey. I love that. Then the Commanders will also wear the Super Bowl era uniforms against the Denver Broncos primetime, and then the Dallas Cowboys on Christmas Day when everybody's watching as well. So we're wearing these jerseys strictly during times when literally everybody's watching. Everybody. So they're not playing about debuting these and kind of, doing a salute to the old culture that we had. Again, I wasn't alive for us to win any Super Bowls, so maybe that's why I'm not as attached to those uniforms and stuff like that. But I can see it. I see why y'all like it so much and why y'all are attached to it. It's just not necessarily my thing. They cool, but you know, we'll see. But we're wearing those at times that everybody's watching, so the Commanders are very serious about honoring our historical past, our winning, and all of that type of stuff. And then also moving on to the last topic, shouts out to Taewop on Twitter, TAEWOPPP, for uploading this picture of RFK Stadium already undergoing demolition. They've already started it. Everything is in motion, man. Again, we technically have like this one more vote to do, but it's purely just by the book. You got to do it. That's just how it goes. But I remember somebody that's been a part of that process their entire years of working there, like 30, 40 years. They've never seen that second vote go a different way from the first one ever in their like 30, 40 years of doing it. So pretty much everything's in motion. Everything's signed off. Stadium will be built by 2030. There's nothing else in the way. I'm happy. And then also speaking of the stadium and also speaking of money, Sportico came out with NFL valuations, the top 10 most valuable franchises in the NFL. Of course, you can see the top 5 right here, but John Kahn pointed out the fact that the Commanders are 10th at $7.47 billion. And remember, the Harris Group purchased the team 2 years ago at $6.05 billion. So they've already added $1.42 billion worth of value. And once we get RFK going in 2030, or even before that, once we host a draft in 2027, come on now, the value is only going to keep skyrocketing. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up surpassing one of these teams in the top 5, but we'll see. Dallas Cowboys are just so far away. I don't know how you can reach them, but hey, man, maybe we can pass the 49ers. By the time we get to RFK, we'll see, man. We're increasing in value at a ridiculous rate, man. Again, to increase in $1.42 billion worth of value in just 2 years is insane, no matter what you're investing in. Even if you were there on Bitcoin the very first day, it wasn't that quick of a turnaround. So shouts out to the Commanders. They are, hey, man, they going crazy on the business side. We're going crazy on the football side as well. Don't forget about our business side. Hey, man, Magic Johnson, Mitchell Rails, all of those guys, Mark Iron, they're not playing with y'all, man. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you love everything discussed video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Really appreciate y'all for being patient with me. If I find some time later on tonight, I've been super busy, so that's why this video is coming out so late at 6 p.m. But I do want to do like a quick breakdown of what happened in practice yesterday. It was a really quick jog through, so there wasn't really much to talk about. I'm gonna try to get that out at some time, at least before I'm live streaming that preseason game against the Bengals. Again, mind you, the preseason game starts at 8 p.m. I'm live streaming a whole entire hour before that by 7 p.m. So make sure you go ahead and pull up, because we're going to be doing predictions. And mind you, this Bengals preseason game, there's actually going to be starters. Dan Quinn already confirmed that starters will be playing, like Jaden Daniels. Maybe not everybody, but Jaden Daniels will be out there for like a series or 2, maybe even more, depending on how things go. So this is like a real preseason game where it's going to be our starters versus the Bengals starters. We're going to see like Mike Sanderstill and Tre'Davious Amos have to cover against T. Higgins and Jamar Chase with Marshall Adam, all of those guys and stuff battling it out. You know what I'm saying? I get to see what our defensive line looks like against my Georgia Bulldog and Amarius Mims over there with the Bengals. Like, it's a lot to this game for me, because the Bengals have quite a bit of Bulldogs over there. So I'm gonna be watching them, but of course, most importantly, I'm going to be breaking down everything that our team is doing, starters and backups that are rotating in. So I'm super excited. I would hope that Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt plays, but I'm not sure if he will. If he does, you know, I'm gonna have my eyeglass, like my magnifying glass on him the whole time, breaking down everything he's doing. But I'm gonna try my best to isolate certain players that we care the most about during that live stream. So make sure you pull up for that, man, for the watch party, play-by-play analysis, all that type of stuff, man. And without further ado, of course, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Terry getting bad advice, Adam Peters being a highly respectable but maybe stubborn general manager. Do you prefer it that way or not? Let me know how you feel about the Jersey schedule. Let me know how you feel about RFK officially starting demolition and the Commanders, how much they're increasing in value just within 2 years. Let me know how you feel about everything. Really appreciate y'all. Leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.